Well, my name is Cammie Jordan, and I've lived in Riverton most of my life with my children and my husband. We spent most of our growing up in your typical setting of sports and those kind of things. We went away to school and decided that Riverton was a really nice place to be, and we wanted to raise our children here. So we came back and we spent a lot of time building our business. So when we started our gym, that was a big part of our life. And then of course our children came along. Grace just turned 8 and Scarlett is 4. Nathan and I started Ironworks Gym almost 10 years ago. We felt like we wanted to commit more resources to the community and give back where we had been provided really nice atmosphere and good people that we saw, and we wanted to emulate what they did. And we felt like that would be a good addition to the community. I had been pregnant with our second daughter, Scarlett, and about the time that she was born with a little bit of trouble in that she wasn't able to breathe through her nose, which is pretty important for an infant. So we spent a lot of time down in Denver, and during that time is when he started feeling intense pain in his back and his legs, and he was a power lifter. So when you're a power lifter, that's pretty common to have those kind of pains, slip a disc, strain your back, and we just thought that that was what it was at first. It progressed to where we had to take him to the ER. We couldn't get the pain under control because at that time he had constant pain. And so it was where he was over-the-counter medicating all day long, and he would have to overlap those pain medications. So it was pretty painful, and so to see a 230-pound man who's a power lifter and is squatting 500 pounds, when you see him doubled up on the floor in agony, it's a little bit unnerving. But at that point, getting into the ER, no answers were given, except at the very end. They instructed him to go ahead and start getting dressed, and the doctor noticed what is called petechiae. It looks like a pinprick, which is very common to powerlifters because of the internal pressure that goes on. And we were not concerned about it because we'd seen it before, but the ER doctor recognized it and immediately asked for blood tests, and that's where we were diagnosed. And so we exhausted all options, and it was fairly difficult to watch him degrade from a very strong man and to pretty emaciated at the very end. I don't think anybody plans to be a widow at 33 and have to take on all of life's challenges without the person that means the most to you. So when we looked into the memorial, and what we wanted from that was we wanted something different. So when we came to Bott Monument, we wanted to stick with the highest quality, and I knew that we could get that here. I had already had in my head that I wanted something more architectural and artistic. And so we had seen things in the showroom, and he was able to show us different shapes, different sculptures, different types of stones. It was very refreshing that he gave us options that we hadn't even considered. There were times when he would say, hey, what about this, or what about that? Or I had expressed something thinking, wow, really can't afford that. And he was able to give me options in that direction and say, well, here's things, you pick the one that you can afford or you prefer. So I was able to work with the creativity of myself and the designer and get something that I was very happy with and could afford. I don't think that we had it in mind to see the stone set at the beginning. But as we went through the process and as we made decisions and felt good about those decisions, there was a measure of anticipation. But I think for our family personally, it was part of the grieving process to be able to say, this is done and it's beautiful. We wanted to capture parts of Nathan and to be able to visit that site with that stone and see elements of him. We have our names, of course, but when you look at the shape of the monument, not only does the stone mean something, but the negative space means something to us. So for us, particularly, the trillion or the triangle it represents something to us. And we wanted elements of family, so we added our daughters on there. We wanted their names and their birth dates. There is a plaque on the back that he was one of the first acts of love, one of the first displays of love that he made for me. It was welded and it has both our names on it, and it was an act of love by a 19-year-old. We were high school sweethearts, and we've been together for a long time, and so that one meant a lot to me, and it felt like it was a good place to put that very private piece. To somebody else it's not going to mean much, but to me it means a lot. The particular angel that we chose was a young man who was bald. Now Nathan was bald, so of course that seemed to be a natural choice. Drew counseled us on a few different ones, and they were all beautiful. They would have been great. The proper fit, they would have artistically looked beautiful, but they weren't right for us. So when we found the angel of the man, looking at it after just a few minutes, it made sense. There wasn't much you had to read into it. Now somebody else, of course, is going to not understand that, but looking at it from our perspective, even with the arrows, what's he being assaulted by? What is the angel being assaulted by? You look at, Nathan had a disease of leukemia, which is a blood and bone disease. So it's a two-part disease. So he is shielding away from those arrows. And looking at that figure, he's protecting even though he's being assaulted. And we really like that. But in looking at the angel itself, we looked at a few things. The angel has flight feathers on one side, but not on the other. We did go ahead and get a personalization by the artist. The original angel's holding a glass globe that represented eternity, and while that is beautiful, the trillion or the triangle means something to us. So the artist himself was able to make that change. And so the angel is actually protecting a trillion. The angel is still doing its job even though it's not perfect. And I think that was one of the main things that we loved about Nathan, is he wasn't a perfect person, but he sure as heck tried really hard to be a better person than he was yesterday. He was constantly trying to be a better person. And that was one of the main reasons we love him so much. And so it was a good representation of him. I have pondered many times, hoping that the girls will understand who their father is. And the difficulty is that they will, as they're young and as they grow, that they will forget or not understand who he is. And the stone will assist them with learning who he is, and that in itself will help them know who they are, that they are important, and that they mean something to someone, because their father means something to someone. And I think that we're beginning a good habit for them to understand that what we do in this life is important, and it's not forgotten, because we look at so many people's lives and they think that they're nobody, and they think that they're not going to be remembered. And so the stone that we placed at the cemetery is very important, because it will give them a sense of who they come from and that he is a wonderful man. But our trips to the cemetery are for a very real purpose. And so when we go, it is a measure of comfort to me, it is education for them, and it helps them to learn who they are and who they can become. Describing Bott Monument, I would have to say that they're very professional. I think they have a lot of talent, and as we know, hard work usually outranks talent, but I think that they're evenly matched here. I think that Bott Monument and its employees work really hard to make a beautiful product and to please the customer. It's easy to throw something out there and say, well, this is what you paid for, you're just gonna have to take it and like it. That is not the attitude here. So when we needed proper counsel, we were given good counsel. When we needed inspiration, we were given inspiration. And when we collaborated, it was a good success.